Good morning, ladies. I would like to introduce our guest speaker to you. If you don't already know who she is, this is Rhonda McGown from the United Methodist Church here in Mound City, and she is going to do a presentation for us this morning. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you for letting me be here to share a little bit about what I think it is to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We all have our talents and gifts, but how are we using them to show the love of Jesus? We have a group at the Methodist Church. It's called the Upper Room Group. You're all probably familiar with this little book. And I'm always out of order. We used to do these Bible studies that were for women, and we finished one up, and the group was, this tells you how long ago it was. Nadine Eisen was in that group and was a spearhead of keeping that group going. And we just finished a Bible study, and we were all like, well, what are we going to do now? And Nadine, being the reader that she was and the Bible scholar that she was, said, well, we should do the upper room. And we were all like, okay, what about the upper room? And she said, well, don't you get this? Don't you pick it up? It's in the foyer. Don't you pick it up? Yeah, we picked it up. And I always kept one in my vehicle. I was the mom whose kids never wanted to ride home with them after a ball game. I'll meet you at the school. I'm riding the bus with my friends. So I was always sitting in the parking lot waiting, and I love to read, so I always had a book with me. And I started grabbing these out of the foyer at the church, and I would keep one in the truck or car with me. It didn't matter what day's lesson it was, I'd just grab it and open it and read one or two of them. And Nadine said, well, you know, in the back of that book, there are questions. I never got to the back of the book. So we opened the back of the book up, and sure enough, for each Wednesday lesson, there are questions. So the Upper Room Bible Study group began, and we had at the beginning 6 that would come and meet every Tuesday at 10 a.m. because that was our time, and we don't change things if we don't have to. So Tuesday at 10, we do the Wednesday lesson, and if you have already done the Tuesday lesson, that's good, or you can save the Tuesday and do it on Wednesday. We have an amazing group of ladies. One time before, we were squeezing our chairs in, but it doesn't matter how many of us are there, and it doesn't matter what church we attend or if we attend church. Everyone is welcome to this group, and we have a lot of great discussions. We try to use the questions at the back. Sometimes we get a little off track, but we are women, and we try to keep it at an hour because everybody's busy and has other things to do. Some weeks we get done just a little bit early. Most weeks we run over just a few minutes, but we do that, and we love having new people come and join us. And if we're not your cup of tea, you won't hurt our feelings. It's really okay. And if you feel led to start another Upper Room group, because there's plenty of these books around in this town, if you feel led to start another group at another time, please do. And any of us that attend this group would be more than happy to help you with that group. This little group, we have a pig that sets out every week, and I've cut up the upper room on one of them and put it on there. And these ladies put money in that pig. That money helps pay for cards, because we send out a lot of cards. I don't know if any of you have ever received a card from the Upper Room group and had all these signatures of all these ladies that attended that week. But we do a lot of card sending. We do a lot of praying for people that, for various reasons, it can be a joyful prayer, it can be a prayer of concern, but we do a lot of that. So these ladies donate money to buy stamps and cards and to mail a prayer blanket. And I don't know if anybody's ever received one of our prayer blankets, but this ministry started in 2012, and those committees that you serve on in church that you think, oh, do I really have to go to that meeting? This idea came out of one of those meetings. Sarah Beckman came to that meeting and said that someone in her family had received a prayer blanket, and they were so touched by this blanket that at the time would have cost $2 at Walmart. Now they're up to almost $4, but at the time it would have been $2. And she just talked about how much that touched this person. And so a few of us decided we could do that. That'll work. So we started our prayer blanket ministry. Some of us met on Saturdays and we sewed some blankets in the church basement. We had people who brought fabric, and I don't know, there's a contest going and I'm gonna win it, because if you have the most fabric when you die, you win. And even with all that I have donated and used, I'm still in the running. Vicki thinks she's gonna beat me. But we met to sew blankets. We do still, some of us do still sew blankets. Most of them are purchased, and it doesn't really matter. The idea is that the blankets, we have a little label that's on each one that goes out now. That was an afterthought also. That didn't happen for a while. But this label says, this blanket was anointed with oil and prayed over by the congregation of the Mound City United Methodist Church. It is our hope that as you are warmed by this blanket, you feel surrounded with prayer and love. And that's exactly what we want. We want you to feel that someone has prayed for you and loves you. And these blankets can be given out by anyone. You do not have to be a member of the Mound City United Methodist Church. If you know of someone who could use a blanket, holler at one of us. We'll get you a blanket, or you can give us an address and we'll be more than happy to mail it off. It can be, again, for a joyful reason. It can be for a concern. It can be just because you think somebody might need a little hug. Just, that's what the prayer blankets are for. We didn't keep track for a while. This was going to be one of those things that, yeah, we'll give a few of these out and it'll be no big deal. Well, in December of 2012, after we'd started this in the fall, somebody said, maybe we should keep track. Maybe we should figure out where these are going. They've been all over the world. We have sent them to foreign countries. We have sent them all over the United States. And as of this morning, because I went and checked the book, we know we have given out 963 blankets. So each blanket is put on the altar at the Methodist Church. They are anointed with oil. They are prayed over. And just know that if you have received one of these blankets, somebody gave that to you in love. It was not to offend anyone in any way, and I hope no one ever gets offended by receiving a prayer blanket. And know that if you have a similar ministry that you want to start, and you want to show the love of Jesus to someone, you will not offend us. We borrowed this idea from another church. It's not our, we don't have a registration or a patent on it. It's there to share. And recently we were told by a member that family of theirs is starting this ministry in Kentucky? Lynchburg, Virginia. Their church is going to start a prayer blanket ministry there. So how awesome is that? That from Mound City, Kansas to Lynchburg, Virginia, we're getting this, spread out. So thank you to anyone. People can donate blankets. If you want to donate a blanket to use in this ministry, we also accept donations for them. In John 21:17, Jesus tells Peter to feed my sheep. The Feed My Sheep garden was started in April of 2013 with the help of a grant from Kansas State Extension, lots of volunteer labor, not to mention some really good dirt from the Levitt Dairy. 9 raised beds were placed north of the Methodist Church. The garden was blessed in May of 2013, and in 2015 we improved it a little bit by adding another layer of blocks, because it's really hard to bend over and take care of that. In April of 2019, we added 3 more beds because this garden was doing amazing. And I want you all to know that this is a community garden. It is not the Mound City United Methodist Church garden. It is a community garden. It is for anyone. It is for everyone. And over the years, we've had sign-up sheets for volunteers to come and to plant, to weed, to water, to harvest. And last year, I had a young girl who is in high school. She's in 4-H, and she needed a volunteer project for 4-H. Yay. She said, "May I help you?" And I was like, "Yes, you may." And she came last year, and she's doing it again this year to help us clean, weed, water, plant, do all of those things for this garden. And I have had some of the most amazing and humbling conversations with people when I have been in that garden. There's a lady who, she doesn't work in town anymore, but she used to take her lunch hour and she used to go pull weeds at the community garden. I have met people that I never would have met otherwise at the community garden. I don't care who picks the tomatoes. I don't care who picks the peppers. I don't care who picks the cucumbers. And those are the three things we've zoned in on because they seem to go the best. It doesn't matter. It's all about showing the love of Jesus and making sure that people know that they are welcome. You are welcome to come into this garden. You are welcome to pull a weed. You are welcome to take a tomato. And I had one guy last year stop, and I was fighting my cherry tomatoes that I thought were such a great idea. And I said, "Well, this isn't going to happen again. I'm not putting them in the same bed as the other tomatoes." And he just chuckled. And he said, "I was wondering how long it'd take you to learn that." I said, "Well, it took me a while, but we're there now." So this year the cherry tomatoes will have a bed of their own. When the produce comes on, and it's going to take a while, and this year's going to be a little later because of our weather, we pick produce usually on the weekend or on Monday to have at commodities distribution on Tuesday. We do that the fourth Tuesday of every month. And we try to show the love of Jesus at commodities distribution. And you have no idea how excited people are over fresh produce. We have a lady in our community that brings us eggs right now to give out, to have available at commodities. And I can go to the store and buy a dozen eggs. And it's just me. So if the eggs are $4 a dozen, I know I'm not going to eat as many eggs, but I can go and buy some. But to have people come and go, "Oh my goodness, I can bake a birthday cake for my child or my grandchild because I have eggs now." We all have the opportunity to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We just don't know what it is. This lady, she's bringing eggs. So her outreach is to make sure that those hens eat and do what they need to do, and she gathers those eggs and brings them. There are so many things you can do, and don't discount the smallest of things, because the idea for this $2 blanket, look where that's gone. It's amazing the things we can do. This garden has I'm not a gardener, and the people who started this will tell you Rhonda is not a gardener. She knew absolutely this much about gardening. And I still don't know, but about maybe this much. But I love to be out there in that garden. It's like I can go to that garden and I can shut out the rest of the world, and it's just me and God out there in that garden. And even when I have to plant the cucumbers 3 times like I did last year, it's really okay. And out there in that area, there is now a yellow bench, and that bench says "Be the Change." And that bench was a birthday gift to a lady in the community, and she didn't want it at her place. She wanted it to be where people could see it. And so she asked if we could put that bench there by the garden. So that bench sits there at the north end of the community garden. And if you sit on that bench, and we've got arches now for the cucumbers to grow over, and when those cucumbers grow over those arches and you sit there on that bench and you look back to the south, it's just an amazing amazing feeling to be there and do that. And so we thank her for sharing her bench. There's also another bench there that was given in honor of someone's mother who had passed on, and it's sitting there. The other thing that you might notice is a blessing box. It's a red box. Bud Clark built this box, and you can put food in there. Non-perishable things are best, but things don't stay long, so it's really okay. If it's perishable, it's probably going to be gone before anything happens to it. In the wintertime, you can put gloves, hats, a small blanket. People have put gift cards in there. In the summertime, you can put the little freezer pops. You don't even have to freeze them. Just put them in there. If they can take them home and put them in the freezer, or if they're that thirsty, they'll just open it and they'll drink that juice out of there. It's okay. Our county-wide health department, they leave information in there about the WIC program and other programs that are available. You can leave diapers. You can leave formula. You can leave baby food. If you have eggs, I have a lady who, she always tells me that I'm going to leave eggs today so that I know to go check and make sure that someone took the eggs, so the weather doesn't affect that. Please don't leave fresh meat or like milk or something, but dried milk is fabulous. And there are so many opportunities for people to help with that. And the Christian Church mission team just made a donation so that we can go buy more food for the blessing box. And when you can buy things when they're on sale and you can buy them in quantities to have on hand to take out there, it's such a blessing to be able to do that for the community. Summer's coming. School will be out. There are children who depend upon that school lunch. It's not going to be there. We don't have the free programs in it right now for them to go somewhere and get a free lunch. If you can drop off granola bars, snack crackers, things like that, that might help a child get through the day. Just remember, there's lots of things that you can be doing to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And right close to that blessing box is a little blue box, and that's a little free library. And it was put in by a family who wanted to share the love of reading with people. So if you are cleaning, which I need to do a little more of, but books are hard for me to turn loose of. If you have some books that you have finished reading and you want to share, I know at the present time our local library is not accepting donations. You can put them in the little free library, especially children's books. Children's books do not stay at all. If you see a book in the little free library that you'd like to read, please take it home and read it. That's what they're for. Right now, I don't police it. There's another lady that kind of watches it and makes sure things are appropriate in there. But there tends to be a lot of romance in there, so if that's your thing, you go for it. It's right there. But you can leave anything. We leave Bibles in there. We leave upper rooms in there. There's just opportunities to leave things for other people. One of the things that we just got done, well, you're never done, but one of the things we were raising money for was to build a house in Guatemala. And I know there's some people that have been to Guatemala to the orphanage there, but there's another place called Porch de Solomon, and I won't even attempt to say where it is in Guatemala because I'll say it wrong. But a former pastor from the Methodist Church and his wife and his family, his siblings, have been there on several occasions on a mission trip. And 2 or 3 years ago, I'm not sure which, Rick and Donna Parker went on a mission trip with Russell. I've got a copy of the newsletter that this group sends out. They do amazing things with very little money. Donna and Rick came back and they were just in awe of what they had seen and done, and they helped with the house build while they were there. We did clarify a couple of weeks ago that their cinder blocks are not like our cinder blocks, because there were pictures of people and they would have 3 of these cinder blocks on their back, and they're walking and thinking, I'm lucky to do 1. I don't know how they do 3, but they are not the size or the weight of what we have here. But when we started doing this, they could build a block house for $7,500. I don't know about you, but I built a house not very long ago, and $7,500 doesn't go very far in the United States of America. And so we decided we wanted to build a house. We wanted to provide the funds to build a house. Well, by the time we kind of got to rolling and doing pretty good with inflation, it was going to cost $8,500 to build this house. So we have met that goal of $8,500 to build this house, which is just amazing. Every week I found a little bank at Dollar General. It was actually, we were supposed to save for a wine fund, but I covered it up. We put the Porch to Solomon stickers on there, and it was like a house, and so that was the reminder to drop your change in to help build this house in Guatemala. Well, we've met that goal, and next March, Russell, Joan, his brothers, his sister, maybe Rick and Donna, and maybe another couple from our church are going on a mission trip to Guatemala to help build this house. I am just amazed. These houses are not like our houses, but they don't live like we live. If you're going from a tar paper shack or cardboard or a little bit of metal that was left over from something else into an actual block home with a roof, not each family member, but there's usually like 2 people in a bedroom, but like they'll put 2 kids in a bedroom and the mom and dad will have a bedroom, but each house has a functioning cook stove. So many of these people cook on things that are not safe, and each house gets a functioning cook stove, not like ours, and they get a water filtration system, which is so important because their water is not safe most times to drink. But that has been a huge deal for us to save money to send to do this house build. And I always said, we need to listen to the children because they have the faith that we need to have. And I used to teach Sunday school, and I had 2 junior high boys. Our church is pretty small, and so there were these 2 boys, and we did a lot of things that they weren't too excited about. Finding information, finding things for them to do, sport-themed things were usually more up their alley. And we did a study called Made to Make a Difference. It's a Max Lucado study. It's a youth-geared study that we did. And we did all that, and they were really excited about it. There were videos that went along, and here's all these kids doing these amazing things. And we get done, and I looked at them and I said, okay, so what are you guys going to do? And they just kind of looked at me. And so they talked for a while, and they said, well, when we were little, they're so big now, but when we were little, we used to bring our pennies and save them, and we bought something. We think it was a pig, but it might have been a goat. We're not sure. But we did that when we were little. And I said, oh, was it Heifer International? Well, we don't know, but we bought something like that. Maybe we'll do something like that again. And I said, okay, well, next week I'll bring some information about Heifer International. So the next week I went prepared. I had all these things printed out about Heifer International and all these animals that they had available, yada, yada, yada. And we looked through them, and I said, so boys, which animal do you want to buy? He said, well, all of them. I was like, oh, ye of little faith, Rhonda. So they made a poster, and the poster still hangs on the wall down in the basement because I can't bear to take it down off of the Sunday school room wall. They made a poster, and you can tell it was made by 2 junior high age boys. But they put all these animals, the pictures of them, and how much they cost on this poster. And it went around and around and around and around and around. And in the center was a camel. Because at the time, the camel was the most expensive animal that Heifer had in their catalog. And that camel was $850. Well, I would bring change and a few bills, and they would bring change, and then they decided we should share what we're doing with everyone else in the church and let them know this wonderful thing we're doing. And so we told the congregation about it. And I always made them go up front with me, which I am not a public speaker, but you get junior high boys go up there with you, and it's like they're closing in on you. And, but they would get up there and nod their heads at least. But we were able, in the first year that they did this, find my note here, we were able to send $1,170 to Heifer International. They paid for ducks, geese, chicks, honeybees, a flock of hope, rabbits, a pig, a goat, a lamb, a llama, a community animal worker to come and train people how to take care of their stuff, and a water buffalo. That was a cool one, the water buffalo. So we kept on going. We had this little black ceramic pig, and he was so cute, and you could write on him with chalk. That was the big deal. They would leave notes on him with chalk, for the congregation. So in 2015, we were able to send another $1,414 to Heifer International. And they had a goal. They wanted to meet the goal of getting the camel and all that by the time the oldest one of them graduated from high school. Well, in November of his junior year, they had paid for everything except that camel. So we needed to reevaluate our mission here. So we talked, and I always kept bringing up this thing of, you can send a girl to school for $250. That's all, $250, and a girl can go to school for a whole year. And they were, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Yeah. Okay. So they decided, this was their decision, they decided they wanted to pay for that camel with pennies. 85,000 pennies. But it was really funny because people started going, you know what, I've got a whole bunch of pennies at my house that I don't know what I've been saving them for. I got a jar of pennies. I got this, I got that. We paid for that camel with pennies. But people, they also gave other money too. So we continued to send money to Heifer International. We did send a girl to school. I was pretty pumped about that. The boys, not so much. We did tree seedlings. That was a very inexpensive thing. We were kind of going along, and we'd done all these other little things, biogas stoves. We did all kinds of stuff. And I said, okay, what do you want to do, boys? And they're like, well, what was that big thing you were talking about? I said, big thing. I don't know. What was? I said, the ark? And they were like, yeah, let's do that. I'm like, that's $5,000. So, well, they got on board. The congregation got on board. Other people got on board. And we let people know what we were doing. And I'll be darned if we didn't buy an ark. We paid for an ark. And when I think of how excited those boys were when I said, we're there, we made it. I surprised them at church. I got the fake check that you can buy. Yeah, I think I had to order like 4 of them to get the deal on Amazon or something. But ordered that, made it out to Heifer International for $5,000. Bought them the T-shirts that say "Believe" on it, because that was kind of our focus, was believe you can do this, and gave them those. And so I have a picture that's pretty near and dear to my heart, that they're standing there holding this fake check for $5,000 to Heifer International to do the ark. And so I think, here's these little young guys that don't really, probably don't want, I won't say their names, you can probably figure it out, but I won't say their name. But they got so much from doing that project. And people in the congregation got so much from dropping in their change And we used to have a thermometer that was beside the refreshment table that showed where we were at, what our goal was and where we were at. And that was a huge deal, whose turn it was to use the marker to fill in, on see where we were at. So never think that any project is too small, or that you are too small to do it. We have so many ways to help. And I don't want this to sound like, look what we've done, but I want this to sound like, look what we can do together. Because that's what it takes. It takes all of us working together to show people that we can love each other, we can show the love of Jesus, we can go out and be the hands and feet of Jesus. People in our community do that every day. We have people that help at Concern, and I know there's a couple of people that should be there this morning that aren't. But there's so much to do there. Even if you only have an hour, they'll take you for an hour. If you can give 1 day a week, 1 day a month, they'll take your help. They love your donations, but even more than that, they love for you to come and shop, because they need to clear out the donations from yesterday so they can take more today. So please help that. That helps so many people in our community. Some of you serve as Sunday school teachers. Some of you provide music at services. Some of you help with Vacation Bible School, or have in the past. Some of you serve as youth group leaders, 4-H leaders. You take food to those who need food. You participate in Faith in Action Sunday. You fill shoe boxes for Operation Christmas Child. Visit care facilities, volunteer at school, donate pies, cakes, salads, and cook for fundraisers, as well as the wonderful food that was there this morning. You're all being the hands and feet of Jesus when you do these things, so don't stop. Keep doing that. Keep looking for more opportunities. And we talked about this Tuesday at Upper Room. I really believe as we get older and we age, our talents and our gifts, they kind of shift. I can't keep up like I did 20 years ago. And so sometimes it's time to not so much step aside, but reevaluate where we're at and how we can use the gifts that we have, or help someone else develop their gifts. I've learned so much about gardening from people who did not have to spend the time explaining to me why you could or could not plant something together. I dearly love that now. And had not they spent the time to show me things and explain to me, I wouldn't have that pleasure in my life. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you today, and I hope we can each reach out to at least one more person and show them the love of Jesus.
Sorry, the person at the computer can be two places at once. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all these ladies who come together to encourage one another, but also to be your hands and feet. And we thank you so much that you take each one of us with what little we have, and you do such great things. And thank you for Rhonda and her willingness to speak and share about what you've been doing. And I just pray that it encourages each one of us to do a little more for the kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.